Hello, everyone. This is JK from the Baseball Rebellion, here to do the weekly breakdown. And today I've chosen, per fan request, I have chosen Brian McCann, catcher for the New York Yankees, as my breakdown this week. And again, it was a request right after he had a game where he hit 2 home runs and showed a bunch of replays and whatnot of his swing, and had a fan that commented and wanted to see him broken down a little bit. And I thought I'd do that. Now, Brian McCann, interestingly enough, is he's a catcher, and I was a catcher for a long time, and I know that catchers not always known for their offensive prowess outside of Mike Piazza and Bench and a couple other guys. So we're going to show his swing here from the front side and a little side view action as well. It was kind of tough to get some video of him, honestly, looking through the videos on YouTube and other places to find perfect side view and stuff I wanted to highlight. Obviously, he's very consistent, otherwise he wouldn't be there. So this was a swing, a home run, obviously, a good one of the more powerful shots of the year. Brian McCann's listed at 6'3", 230, 225, something like that. Who knows, maybe even a little bit more at the beginning of the year. And catchers, it's harder for catchers. There's a lot more of a demand on their body than other position players with the squatting and the innings played and things like that. So we know that catchers sometimes lose their legs late in games, and then late in the season, of course, it can be a little bit harder for them to put out the power that maybe they once put out at the beginning of the year or early in their careers. Is why you'll often see them go to first base and other positions maybe later on in their careers. But McCann's been pretty steady Eddie. Some All-Star games, a couple MVP votes a few years. This year he's doing really well. At Yankee Stadium, not a bad place for a lefty to play. I think he's got somewhere around 15 home runs right now. Right after halfway through the season. So he's looking to put up another, upper 20s, maybe a 30 spot every year like he's been doing. So a very consistent hitter nonetheless. And let's get to work on his swing right here. So one thing that, again, with being 6'3", 230 is you don't have to move as much as say, a 6-foot guy, 220 pounds or so-ish, something like that. And he starts off very tall, which is really, different for maybe some bigger guys. He starts off very tall. You can see his posture is very upright with maybe just a little bit of an inward direction of his spine in the stance. But he really changes a lot as the pitch comes in, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. So as the pitcher begins to deliver the pitch, if we really pay attention to his front foot, you can really see how he lifts it once, puts it back down the ground again, and as he's doing that, you can start to see him hunch over now. So his foot hits the ground one time there, and you can see him already kind of angling a little bit more towards the plate, kind of bending over the waist. His butt kind of goes out a little bit, and you can kind of see his back knee kind of hanging out on that back knee a little bit as he changes his posture here. And then as he goes again, all right, so it's kind of like that first timing mechanism to get his foot down and kind of get him lower to the ground. Whether or not this is something that he does on purpose or just something that he does naturally, we don't really know, except for him. And so here comes the leg lift part, okay, in which case he tilts the barrel a little bit at the same time. So if you notice, and this is really good for younger players who want to incorporate a leg lift or even a barrel tip, something we like to talk about a lot in baseball, being with the barrel tip this way towards the plate as the knee comes up, and at the same time you can see how that happens. So he's kind of crunching in this side right here. As he crunches in this side, he lifts his leg and tips the barrel in at the same time. So he's kind of coiling up, getting his body in a position ready to turn really fast here as he goes forward. And so as he drops his foot, you can see the front side of his body really, especially the lower half, you really start to turn open. With those Yankee pinstripes, you can really see the torque and the twist and the wrinkling effect that you see of a jersey as he starts to put his foot down. You can see it right there around the lower part of his back. And so as he uncoils his hips and as he goes to swing, he's recognized the pitch. It's a good pitch. You can see his head moving. That's something that, we talk about a lot, and there's that myth going around that there can't be any head movement in a swing. And there is to a point where, where head does need to stay still, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But this ball is moving and his head is moving, and that's okay. He's trying to get some momentum going forward. He doesn't get as much as others. He's so big. So he doesn't really need to move as much as others. He hangs out a little bit longer on his back leg than you would want maybe a smaller guy to, because again, with the extra mass, he has the advantage of just being able to kind of sit on that back side a little bit longer. But he does get some movement forward going, which is obviously going to help him. And then as he puts his foot down, his stride direction is very, very good. From if we work up from the ground up, from his feet up to his head. his feet land very much in line, so this is a very straight stride. You can see he doesn't land towards the plate at all here. That's very nice. What I don't like about it is how closed it is on that front side. We know time and time again how that can hurt guys, especially the bigger guys on that front knee, and him as a catcher also. Watching the hip, the knee, and then the ankle land closed like that, you're going to see how as he goes to swing, how that torque on that knee just doesn't look healthy, even if you're just looking from it from this view, with the foot closed like that, and then the hip trying to go to his right really aggressively, really fast, how that's just turning inside of his knee right there. I mean, it doesn't even look like this should be a physically possible right here with the kneecap pointing at us and the toe pointing more towards the plate. But you can see how his toe does say, I got to get out of there, and then promptly does so. And that's where you see a lot of the big leaguers spin on their front foot because of that. But regardless, very straight with his step, and you can see that he's really driving into that front heel with that front leg, because you can see his toes come up as he swings here. So that's a really good job there from as far as that goes. You really utilizing that front leg, using that front glute to help drive back. As that's happening, we can also take a look at the backside coming through, even from the front view, which you don't really get a whole lot of in analysis. You try to get more side view, but I thought this would be fun to do the front. If you really pay attention to his back foot, you can really see that it actually does move a little bit here. So for a guy that doesn't gain as much ground maybe as some of the bigger guys, or even definitely the smaller guys, your Gomez's and your Bautistas and so forth, you can still see his back foot move right here. So with the turning of his hips, okay, we talk about getting the contact with your hips fully rotated. You can see very much the front of his belt buckle there. You can see the front of his chest. Everything's flying open, which you're not supposed to do apparently, right? But you can see his back foot move, so that's really cool. It doesn't do it on all of his swings. I looked at a handful here. This was just one that I thought was kind of a cool front view to look at, but his back foot does move, and I think that's pretty easily seen there. So very good job. So his lower half, outside of maybe opening a little bit better and cleaner on that front side, very good, very powerful, very nice hip and shoulder separation. You can see that as he starts to open that front hip, if we get to right about here, you can see his hip line from his front hip to his back hip, back hip to front hip open, as his shoulders stay very close on that ball. So that leading of the hips this direction really slingshots that backside from around behind him. And in doing so, with that barrel tip that we mentioned earlier, he has a really nice continuance of energy. There isn't really a too big of a pause. There's a little bit right there, but even there, it's barely, if anything, maybe a slight pause. But then he goes right into that turning. And so this is where we talk about the barrel picking up speed back behind him, around in the turn part of the barrel move behind him. Once the hips clear and the shoulders come around, now you can really start to see the meat and potatoes of the swing back here. And you can see how the barrel flashes in behind the ball. So here's where the knob is pointed more at the pitcher, maybe even a little bit past it. But you can see the barrel come flying in behind his shoulder. So there it is back here behind his shoulder. And for all you, downward swing knob to the ball guys, this is what we're talking about. Like, this is where the knob doesn't go forward, but the barrel is turning. And so when the knob comes towards the ball more, this extra speed and the flailing and the shooting of the barrel sideways in front of the catcher's mitt cannot happen if the knob is coming towards the ball, especially this deep or this close to the catcher. So as he's turning more, his body mass is still turning as the barrel is shooting in behind the barrel. We can take a look at some other things. We can take a look at the high arm height here, a little bit low, maybe as far as like the best swing possible, but still really good. His hands aren't down here by his waist. You can see the clear shoulder tilt to the pitch height, so you can see how even his shoulders are and how almost parallel his shoulders are from his compared to his front elbow down to the barrel. So that way we know that he's really doing a really nice job of side bending in his left obliques and his left stomach. And you can see how long this backside is. So you can really see him shifting his upper body to reach the pitch. Now his lower half would stay the same, whether it was a high pitch, a low pitch, medium pitch, but his upper body obviously changing and kind of tilting towards the direction of the pitch or the height of the pitch. So really good job there. Definitely a mistake pitch by the pitcher. Don't want to leave it there to him for sure. So there wasn't really much of an arm adjustment he needed to make in or out, so everything was nice and lined up. One thing that you can really see here, and for all you young players maybe watching this, and I always try to mention this in my videos if I see a guy do it really well, is watch how he turns his head. So once he goes to swing, the movement of the head is no more. So he's not going to lift up. He's not going to go down. He's going to just turn his head inside that little box, and the only thing he does is maybe lower his head even more just to see it better. So you can really see the side of his face. You can see him clearly looking down at contact here. We can see the side of his helmet. Most hitters, especially at the youth level, are going to be looking out towards the field a little bit too soon, or never really turn their head inward this much. And this is something that allows these guys to see the ball that extra 5-6 feet that other guys don't. And at that level of baseball, with the late movement of the sliders and the changeups and the sinkers and the cutters and all these types of pitches, that extra 5-6 feet is a huge advantage to making those last second adjustments to those pitches that might move. Now this one didn't move as much, so it was easy pickings, but either way, this vision is phenomenal and some of the best I've seen, honestly, since like guys like Cano and other players like that. Stanton's vision, it might be have more power than McCann, or maybe more athletic. Stanton's vision is not this good right here, and that's just the difference between players sometimes if you watch those YouTube videos. And so as he continues to turn, his head is still down here on his back shoulder. Clearly you can see that, but he doesn't stop turning the big parts of his body. So you can see his shoulder still turning as he gets past the ball here. I mentioned earlier how his how his front foot, the toes come up, so we know he was driving off that heel. And you can see this nice finish all the way to the end where he doesn't really stop. And you can see he keeps two hands on the bat, not always what we talk about. Not something that we typically like to see. We like to see, especially our smaller guys, release with the bat so they can really feel a full turn. But when you're 6'3", 230, you can keep two hands on the bat a little bit longer. And but notice the fullness of the swing, everybody. This is something that you got to be sure that you're committed to taking every time, especially right-handers at the young level. You're so in a hurry to get to first base. Take a full swing like this, and then first base hopefully is easy to reach because you just hit it 100 feet further, as opposed to hitting it with a half swing and trying to run to first base fast and not really getting all your power into the swing. And then there's this really quick side view I just want to show everybody where you can see his head really staying down behind the ball, where you can see this nice bend in his elbow here. So you can see the bend, and this is a different swing, but you can see this bend in his elbow, and you can clearly see the backside forearm pointed upwards into the as he lifts up through the ball. You can see how his elbow stays at that angle, so you can see the bat clearly rising up through where he hit it. So for all those, again, people that are saying you swing down, well, just not the case. Too much video evidence out there now. So this is a really cool side view here, just to kind of show that. But as far as Brian McCann goes, using his size to his advantage, not being afraid to try to lift the ball as always, as we see all the guys at this level does some different things with that toe tap at the beginning. That if that's something that helps you and keeps you consistent in rhythm with the pitch, and you can adjust to the pitch and adjust to the different pitchers that you see, then by all means do it. And he does a great job here of just creating that barrel energy at the beginning, using his lower half to then keep that barrel energy moving in from behind the ball, in front of the catchers. I mean, this is just a really good shot here of that barrel coming in from behind the ball as he turns his head back and hitting the ball really far, and been doing it for a long time. So there you go. There's Brian McCann swing in a nutshell right there. And again, sometimes you see guys caught out early or late or whatever. They're not going to show you their best swing because you're not supposed to take your best swing when you're really early and late. This was a well-timed pitch and a perfect swing for Brian McCann. And hopefully he continues to hit home runs for years to come. So if you have any questions, I'll post a link at the bottom of this to the baseball reference page where you can look up some more of his stats this year and check out more about him. But if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and I look forward to answering them. Thanks, guys.